Welcome and good morning. This is Mukti Ananda. I feel very excited to connect with all of you today. I want to talk about where we are in our reality and in the world that we currently see with war and rumors of war and all the technologies coming forward, all the news that we are listening to either directly or indirectly and being impacted by at this time. And for you who are awake to being a creator, to experiencing yourself as a creator, as one who is beyond all identities, and yet willingly and knowingly embodies identities. You may be asking yourself, now that I am aware that I am the creator of my reality and my world, and that I am the one that is the presence in all identities, what to do in this world that I have woken up into, this world of wonderful things happening and also things that may appear worrisome or fearful. What to do as a creator. It seems very overwhelming. I'd like to remind you that you are not only the presence that is behind all identities of the human form, but consider this, that you are the presence that is behind all identities in world form. In other words, your consciousness is what creates the world that you are aware of. That all that you see, the war, the rumors of the wars, financial turbulence, all the news, these are all things in your consciousness, all things that are menus in the buffet of life, items in the buffet of life, available for you to experience from a distance, passing by that item in the buffet, or to eat on your own dish. Whether we are pushing away that item or we are wanting that item does not matter. The fact that that item is in our consciousness, that we are giving it time and attention, brings it to the forefront of our reality. So the first thing to be aware of is to be aware. To be aware of what you would choose to experience, to eat, if you will, from the buffet of your reality of this world. And to simply pass by those things that you do not wish to eat and choose those you would like to experience by bringing your full attention and imagination, your full presence to those items. There are those who, believe it or not, will consciously choose to be in a reality of war, for they want to experience an aspect of being. Notice I said of being, because all aspects of being are contained within the being. So this aspect that would rise up and fight, or that would shrink back and hide, that would feel a victim or a victor. This aspect, even someone awakened, might choose willingly to partake in. The responsibility of the world that we see around us lies within our own consciousness, a recognition that there is nothing that we are not, and that all that we see is part of consciousness. That those things that irritate us the most are those things that we are denying within ourselves as part of ourself, our larger self. That does not mean that we necessarily have to play out, have to experience, have to illuminate these options on the board, but to recognize that they are valid and that they exist like pages on the book, that we can color in or not, color in with our attention, create and resurrect them into experiences. It is all up to us. The world that we create in our moment, right in our own homes, in our daily life. There will be a version of that projected on the drama of the world screen. The warring that you see on the outside is more than likely going on in the inside. The question is, what attention or life are you giving it? The good news is that many of us, having understood now that we are world creators, are creating a spectacular movie of victory over many things, including financial lack, including aging, disease, and sickness, including an environmental challenge to bring nature back into its healthy, illuminated expression, including even overcoming death. This world that we have already co-created, you could say, and laid down the images is coming to light for many of us. And the good news is all we need to do is give it our attention. To use the power, the wand of our imagination, to color in these frames, to live as they unfold first in our inner vision, to then be experienced on the world screen. To know that as we embrace our own power and eternity, that so will the world. We decide right now, right here, in this very moment, to be this world creator, to see the world we wish to see, to bring heaven now, right here, to this moment, to be projected on the world screen. And this is good news indeed. For we do not need to struggle to try to fix the world we find ourselves experiencing in this moment. We simply shift our attention and our assumption that as world creators, what we choose to give our attention to will be experienced in the physical, in the material, in the emotional, in the spiritual, in all ways. So we are ready now. We, as Mukti Ananda Ma, who is a culmination of so many identities, are ready for any questions.
Wow. Thank you, Mukti Ananda Ma. It's always amazing how you manage to answer all my questions for all time after you speak. But nevertheless, you said a lot of amazing things. I like how you frame that, the wand of our imagination. And so, how does one, like, for example, if you choose something like war, for example, and then change your mind or your being, how does one best harness the wand of our imagination to change it?
Yeah, so I believe what you're asking is, if I've made a choice and I feel complete with that choice and I'm ready to move on to a different choice. So if that choice was sort of that warring spirit, that fighter spirit that you then see projected out on the screen of the world, and you are now complete with that energy, complete with that vibrational experience of that warring spirit within, how do you change to another spirit? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So, of course, the simple answer is you just choose again. And in that choice, how you make that choice is moment by moment attention. That's how we make our choice. That's what choice is. Moment by moment attention. We choose by pointing the finger, and the finger is your attention, your decision. The secret to doing this much more efficiently, effectively, and effortlessly is when you know that you are not one identity. You are not one identity with a past. But in the moment that you make a choice, what you will see come to mind is a new identity, a new choice. With a new choice comes a new identity. With a new identity comes a new choice. And if you allow that identity's consciousness to overtake your attention, it will tell you what that past of the identity was and what the future of that identity will be. For these are really constellations of being that have the script, that have the past, the future, and all the movies contained within it. So often, teachers will have you focus on what you would like and then guide you into being that identity that has those things. That is one way of going there. Another way is saying, what world do I want to be in? And that is a creator asking, who do I have to be? How does my consciousness have to be to project such a world on the screen? If I have a warring spirit, then I will create a warring world. If I want a world of joy and peace and harmony, who do I have to be? What will that identity be like? And quickly you will see it doesn't take much time at all. That identity will come into view in your consciousness. How you talk, the things you're doing, the type of past you've had living in harmony, the future that you would have living in harmony. living in joy. It doesn't really take much effort, just permission. Permission to let the imagination go. Once you have given it the coordinates, it will go. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So the imagination is the wand because it is the seed and the power to grow the seed. It is the communicator to all that is an infinite intelligence to gather up the movie reel and play it on the screen. What usually happens in the beginning until one masters this way of being is you default to the old identity and all its memories, which then projects in that very moment the same world. And so it's important to recognize that a new identity, a new world, will not be projected by the identity of the warring world or the old world. It will not have the same past nor the same future. It will not even have, depending on how different the world is, the same world foundations. And if you are willing to fully immerse yourself in that new identity, then you will experience that new identity's world.
Thank you. Had you answer so many questions when you speak. It's a lucid experience sometimes. So I'm going to ask specific questions that your explanations have already answered, but nevertheless, I feel that they're germane. So in the world, depending on the world you're in, one would say the majority of people are not wealthy. How does one obtain great wealth? And I guess stay in that state of being, because for a lot of people it comes and then it leaves again. So how does everybody jump octaves and stay wealthy so that we have a wealthy world of wealthy people? Is that?
Well, it all begins with the creator. And who is the creator?
I am.
And so as one stabilizes in the identity of abundance, then so will the world project a world of stable abundance. If the identity that's trying to become abundant or is struggling with abundance, will never see stable abundance. The one that looks into the world and wonders why there is such disparity between abundance and lack is the one that will never see stable abundance for all. For what we look to see, what we perceive through, we will see on the screen of life. One's identity must be grounded, this new identity, this identity abundance, this identity that knows that I am the abundance, that the consciousness that I am is projected on the screen. And so I have filled, and my consciousness is filled with abundance. The truth that life is always abundant, that there can be nothing else. And yes, you may see, because your expansion of vision is broad, as recognizing that you are the presence of all identities, you may see evidence, if you will, or shadows of poverty. But once you recognize those as merely options, as merely frames that you no longer wish to color in or to illuminate or resurrect, They don't bother you. They're not something you're going to play with in your consciousness. For you recognize the truth that now I am the identity who has awakened to the fact that abundance is really all there is. There can be an abundance of a lack of abundance, and there could be an abundance of abundance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But abundance always is. There's always an abundance of life. There's always an abundance. Did that answer that question?
It does, yes.
I felt like I was rambling. I'm not sure if I answered.
Well, it's a larger question, and it's I want to see victory over death for all beings. No more aging, no more poverty, no more anything. And I know that there is a destined world or identity for this appointed time for each of us. And so it's kind of like, how do I explain to myself and all aspects of being the how to move from one to the other? So there's a brief example in science where they have split personalities, and when they shift back and forth for 4 hours or what at a time, one will have different eyes, different color eyes, one will have cancer, the other one. So as they shift, their metabolism shifts, physical characteristic shifts. So it's how do we shift to this destined world and identity for each of us? And that's why I'm drilling down on specific questions.
Yeah, I think that here's the problem. You do not shift.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're saying, how do I go from this identity to that identity? And as long as you hold that there's a process, there'll always be a process, and you'll never get there. So you decide, that's how you do it. You decide right now, thank you very much, identity of poverty or identity of come and go abundance. That was an interesting experience. I am complete. Now I am the identities whose abundance is always and in all things. And you look for that in the world. You look for evidence of that instead of the evidence of why I'm lacking. The identity that's looking for why I'm lacking or how to get more will never experience this stable abundance. Does that make sense? Because they're perceiving always looking for why I'm lacking. You must look from the new identity. The new identity says, I am abundance. I expect to see evidence of abundance everywhere. And if you can't look out and see the abundance of the sky, the abundance of the grass, the abundance of the impoverished beings, the abundance of all things, then there's a problem.
Right.
You're focused on lack. Because there is abundance of air, abundance of life moving always. The difference between then and now is now you know this abundance is here. You're not blind to it anymore. You're not asking for air. You're taking a breath and noticing that abundance is everywhere. And in that noticing, it'll begin to seep into your life. Perhaps it begins noticing that in the world, so much abundance, so many billionaires, so many new businesses, so many beautiful homes, so many opportunities that other people are finding. Isn't it great how abundance is everywhere? The abundance on the trees, the leaves, abundance of seeds coming out from the fruit to plant so many more trees or plants. Abundance, oh my God, it's everywhere. I'm drowning in abundance. It's wonderful. This is the way of an abundant identity. Look for abundance, and you shall find it. Look for lack, and you shall find it. Look for coming and going. Look for evidence of I'm not there, and you will not be there.